Hey everybody, welcome to the Marquez Says Show. I'm your host, Marquez Mosier, and this is my co-host, cohort, and eldest son, Austin Jordan. He and I always seem to bring out the feisty side of each other, and it leads to some very spirited conversations. There's never really any one topic. We see the world from many different perspectives, and sometimes we agree, and sometimes we don't. Either way, it gets very interesting, so sit back, relax, and have a bit of fun at our expense as we explore some of the most unexpected perspectives you'll ever hear about the world we live in. So, let's get started. Ho, ho, ho.
Who you calling a hoe?
You know.
Idaho?
No, but there's a state.
Idaho!
Hey, you admitted it. See, right there.
And welcome to our geography episode.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the Marquez Says Show. I'm Marquez. This is my co-host, cohort, sidekick.
Sidekick?
I know, I added a new one, huh?
I don't like that new one. We can take that new one away.
Okay, well, okay. Welcome to the Marquez Says Show. Oh, wait, beep. I can't do that because you'll edit it. You'll just...
Take three.
Literally going to be, welcome to the Marquez Says Show. I'm Marquez. This is my co-host, cohort, and all-around nice guy.
I was going to all-around superior.
Oh, no, not even. You gonna start like that? You couldn't just say hi?
You called me a sidekick.
No, not the last one. You can edit that out. You know that.
That's gone now?
Pretty much, because you could basically just slice it.
No. We're doing this like the original old style. Everything in it, okay. That's what it is.
Well, then yes, the third time I did not say sidekick. I said all-around nice guy.
Yeah, but that was you pretending that I edited it in. That was fake.
No, we could keep this whole thing rolling, and the last thing I said was all-around nice guy.
And that
just take the damn compliment. Jesus.
Magic Hollywood?
Sure.
Okay, all right. You think I'm a nice guy?
Absolutely, I think you're a nice guy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you're a nice guy, too.
I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. All right. So, beep. You know what we're talking about today?
The commodification, the commercialization, and the molestation of Jesus' birthday, a.k.a. Christmas Day.
That is one part of it. That is definitely one part of it. But an overreaching arc would be basically milestones. We got New Year's is coming up. You got New Year's resolutions with birthdays. So I just figured we'd talk about how important are they really? I'm taking a page out of your book about how important are these things that people think are so important. You know, resolutions, birthdays, holidays, reflection points in life. Now, I'm big proponent of perspective and reflection points in life and looking at things and stuff. But how much importance we give to certain days, is that really necessary? I mean, is the day itself just the catalyst? Because some people take the day itself to be like the end all.
Right.
I'm not sure I can totally agree with that part of it.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I've never been big into celebrating my birthday. That's never been something that I've been super looking forward to or anything like that.
I have to take some of the blame for that because we wanted to make sure that all the kids, birthdays were special, but they weren't the day. It wasn't the day of. Like, you know, you don't get to not go to school, not go to work, or just goof off just because.
Right, yeah. I never request off work or anything like that for my birthday. And that's fine because what we used to do was go to a movie. Which, that's essentially now what I like to do anyways, what I want to do. I couldn't do it this year, which sucked. It kind of felt like the birthday never happened. I'm not going to... This year felt like the birthday didn't happen.
This whole year felt like it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I don't mean to interrupt you real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
But I saw a really good meme. Mm-hmm. It was basically showing this guy, looking forward to the clock where it said 12... Or the date was 12/31. You saw this one?
Yeah.
12/31/2020, and it was 11:59 p.m. And it was like, okay, 2020 is just about to be over.
Yeah.
And it flips over to 13/01/2020. I'm like, and his face just dropped. I'm like, oh, that is so good. That one, that's funny. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that reminds me. Total side note. I'm not.
That wasn't a side note.
This is even more of a side note. I would just like to say be careful with the vaccine. Not because I don't want people to get better, but because this is the year 2020, and a hastily thrown together vaccine in the year 2020 screams zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it could be the opposite, though.
It could, but...
You know, it's funny, just a little side note on that, because that's been a conversation with April and I and stuff, and I look at it from you can look at it from two perspectives. It's rushed, and it won't be nearly as effective as it could be. Will it be effective? Absolutely. They'll have some effectiveness, you know what I mean?
Or will the urgency have actually impacted in a good way?
Yeah, and the flip side is that, because think of it this way, what would be the worst nightmare for Big Pharma? Big Pharma would have to be completely in the spotlight. Yeah, be completely in the spotlight, which they are, and then give a vaccine that 6 months or a year later, it's proven with leaks and whistleblowers and whatever, that it wasn't what they said. That would be like the worst scenario for them, because it would be the first time that people could actually have a tangible excuse to rise up and change the healthcare system and everything else. So to me, I don't think they'll even risk it. I think that what they say as far as the effectiveness and such is actually going to be what it is. And a lot of it, I think, comes to the fact that, how do we know? I mean, they milked the system out before when they had to come up with new drugs and stuff, because they had to. That was the way the system was structured. All right, so they went by it. This time they were given basically an express lane, and I think they just went, we could have been doing this all along. We could have been doing this for XYZ. We tried to tell you that, but you didn't want to listen. So we just said, fine, we'll keep putting money into R&D and turn around and charge you for it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so on the serious side of this side note then, I mean, it's generally a good idea not to take a mass widespread vaccine off of the first batch anyway, in any situation, whether it be this COVID or not, because it's like beta testing. You got to watch the kinks get worked out.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why they're not just distributing it to every single person in the country either. That's being tested in focus groups. It's going to probably go to Florida first because they need it. And
that's where the zombie apocalypse is going to start. We all know that.
We already know that. It's already The Walking Dead started in, where was it? Georgia?
I think
it was somewhere in Georgia,
right next to Florida.
Yeah.
And of course Florida, with the bath bombs and all the other crap. So
and giant crocodiles.
And when they're
alligators or whatever.
You better get that one right.
I don't know. I honestly, I'm not. I think it was crocodiles.
Okay, how about this?
What
is the mascot for the University of Florida?
Gator. So crocodiles.
So anyway, so basically along the lines, that was our side notes. But even that is a milestone. People are going to celebrate.
Yeah, that's true. People are going to remember this.
However, so what exactly, what exactly is the importance, or where do we draw the line, or where do we take the importance from? Is it just so that it's a trigger that says, hey, you've gone around the sun a whole nother, time? It is the sun, right? like the way you stopped, I'm like, oh, wait a second.
You're right.
I never use that phrase, but I've seen
right.
it. I've been seeing it for birthdays on like Facebook and stuff. I've made another trip around the sun, and I'm like, I have never said it that way before.
No, that was correct way to say it. I just never heard it phrased that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but so the celebration,
the hesitancy in the voice was what set me off.
It was because it was, and that in turn turned around and made me go, oh, wait, did I say it wrong?
Right. No, you were right. It was just so funny.
A year is the sun. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
But and right now, what about? I mean, let's just start for the most part with New Year's resolutions. Resolutions in general, not necessarily, but New Year's are the most famous ones. Like, I make the same one every year because it's just a joke. It's just, I mean, to me now, it's just a joke. I mean, I mean it and I want to do it, but I'm not going to set any other New Year's resolutions because it's for me, they're constant. Goals and stuff, they're constant. But a lot of people, it's a thing. They'll take it, and if you just say it, is it just a wish? If you actually have a New Year's resolution, you write it down. There's obviously all those aspects of it. But how important do you think, or to you, do you make New Year's resolutions?
Kind of, not exactly. I feel like I make more. It's almost kind of like a guide map of things that I want to accomplish, and it's like, but
you write them down.
No, but it's more
wishes.
Oh god. Well, but it's not concrete goals. It's like
wishes.
Oh my god. It's I don't know, it's like commandments, I guess.
Wishes.
There we go. I think it was at the start of.
You will never accomplish them because you don't write them down.
It's I mean. Are you done?
Wishes that aren't written down. Goals that aren't written down are just wishes.
Is that a?
Yeah,
phrase?
Actually, somebody says.
I was like, what is that?
Yeah, goals that are not written down are just wishes, and vice versa. So,
bitch, are you a fairy? Like, that's what that's what I'm gonna ask the person who wrote that. Like,
something like that.
Okay.
Sprinkle my dust.
All right.
Sprinkle me.
Is that what the kids call it these days?
Sprinkle me.
But no, I had like, I don't remember if it was the start of 2018 or 2019. I think it's the start of 2019. But I had like stay nutritious, stay money, and
I always say stay yummy.
Money.
I just said, I heard you.
You're married. Okay.
That's all more important. Absolutely.
No, you can quit now. You don't have to try so hard. And then what's the... I don't even remember what the third one. I guess it wasn't as important as those two.
You wanted to stay healthy and stay rich.
Yeah, essentially.
So that way you can live as long as possible with the money that you have.
Right. So the stay nutritious ended up being the most important one. But like, funny enough though, is I more or less did that, and those are kind of the things that I renew every year. Because what I notice is that I'll be really, really good through most of the year, and then towards the end of the year when the holidays come around, dip a little bit.
Yeah.
And then come back up around January.
Yeah.
And then, so I mean, those aren't necessarily resolutions, but it's like principles that kind of get reset at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. See, so and I think that's a good way of looking at it, because I think some people will put too much pressure on their New Year's resolutions, and we know that 90% fail by March, something like that, or.
Right. Well, okay. There's a lot of studies and like statistics and all that stuff that have been ran about if you start something like a New Year's resolution, or you start trying to do a new thing on a Monday, that it doesn't work. A lot of people will tap out. It's too routine, so it doesn't feel all that authentic or real.
So same thing with the beginning of the year.
Right. So yeah, I would imagine the same thing with the same concept would get carried over.
I would too.
Because I've heard basically if you start something on an odd day, then you're more likely to keep going with it.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and I think that's probably why I don't put a lot of stock into the birthdays and the holidays and things of that sort, because if you need to accomplish something, you need to start then. Right then.
Right.
Or I mean, you can give yourself a start date, but
Yeah, well, anecdotally, when I decided to quit drinking soda, I didn't put any thought into it. It happened in a split moment.
Yep.
And then I just didn't again. Yeah. And it just like, I don't know, probably close to 3 years. But like maybe a little sip or something here and there, but not a soda drinker.
Yeah, and that's a good example of how you didn't need a New Year's resolution. It wasn't because you got sick. I was thinking of like how people when it comes to like alcohol or something like that. They say they're never going to do it again after the night before. They're never going to do it again. That's what you said the time before. Ooh, I'm all going back to like 80s and 90s stuff.
Ooh, those bars.
MC Breed was the one who said, "Yeah, right, because as soon as we come, we're going to same old thing tonight." That was the one where he was drinking.
What did he say?
No, I'm not doing it again. and then the other one was it Depeche Mode? That's what you said the time before. Yep, I think that was Depeche Mode. See, man, all this music. Anyway,
great. Now I got to get the licensing rights. Thanks a lot.
No, I don't think anybody's going to recognize it, so I think we're probably cool.
Well, you said the names.
That's okay. I give credit. I didn't actually sing it.
That's
read
true.
Lyrics.
You definitely didn't sing it.
No, definitely not. But and then birthdays. What about? I mean, well, okay. Let's stick on with New Year's resolutions, because you also talked about Christmas. Why is it that everybody wants to be happier on Christmas? Like, why choose this time of the year to now be nicer, to be kinder? I mean, why can't it just be illustrated more? But you're the same way all the way through, all year.
Because, Dad.
I'm waiting for it. I'm giving you the opening. Go ahead.
You see, people take joy from molesting Jesus.
Okay. I'd like an explanation.
It gives the people a sense of safety and comfort in their little Christmas wrapping papers. And they're nice.
How does wrapping paper have to do with what you're saying?
Because it wraps them like a blanket.
Okay.
It's metaphors. Keep up.
Sorry. It's molestation of Jesus and wrapping is a blanket. Your metaphors suck right now.
I just think that you're just buying into the commodification, the commercialization, and the molestation of Jesus' birthday.
How is that? You're the one wearing an ugly sweater. you wearing the ugly Christmas sweater. Oh,
this is just an ugly sweater. Okay, this is not an ugly Christmas sweater.
That's an ugly patriotic sweater.
This isn't white.
Red, white, and blue.
It's more of a beige.
Well, you need to wash it.
Beige, dirtier wouldn't be white. It'd be the opposite.
No, if it was white.
It's not white. I just told you it's beige.
No, that's what I'm saying. You need to clean it. It is white. You just don't know it because you haven't washed
No,
it.
it's not. That is not how that works. Okay, I would like to clarify something for my viewers at home.
Molestation of Jesus?
Yes, that'll be the phrase.
That'd be
I
helpful.
know some of you might be upset with that. I hear you. I understand. No, that's the whole thing.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
But how about the commoditization and the commercialization?
Okay, well, those are
actually is commodifying and commercialization.
Yeah, but the alliteration works better if it's commodification.
No, you can make it work if you could actually be a wordsmith.
Actually, I don't think that'd be an alliteration. The rhyming, the patterns, the syncopation. Anyway.
Whatever.
Okay. Because this one's easier to explain. And this ties into what your actual question was, is why do people suddenly feel like they have to be happier at the end of the year? Because we're kind of told to, is because there's an industry around it. Now it's kind of like the whole it's like the whole Disneyland thing. Is Disneyland evil for selling a dream of happiness? Well, not exactly, because there is a genuine form of happiness that comes from that, and people do get memories, and people get something worthwhile out of it. However, it is still being sold to you, and in a sense that does take away a part of its authenticity, but it doesn't necessarily change how it feels. The same thing goes for Christmas. Is I was just at Target yesterday, and people are swarming the Christmas section and getting all these wrapping papers and bows and wreaths and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's cool. You can be a part of it. But if you need that to feel like you're in the Christmas season, then
Ooh, see, now you touched on it.
now you're not in the Christmas season.
Yeah.
You're like, it's almost performative to an extent. And it's like, I know that people, and I'm not saying that everybody that does this is performing. It's just, there are some people that genuinely, it's just part of their traditions. It's part of what they love, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Because there are parts of being like pageantry that I like. There's stuff of like.
I think you definitely touched on it where it's kind of okay. So be nice, be joyful, be kind, give all that stuff, and yet you're gonna honk at the person because they got that parking spot cut in front of you instead. It's a direct opposite thing. It's kind of or they got the last Barbie, or you know what I mean. And all of a sudden, you see these.
Some of that stuff just doesn't matter very much, and it starts to. That's why I get irritated with the holiday season, and I always have. And people have said that I'm like Grinch-like or whatever, but it's because I see too much of people just kind of forgetting what it. For all intents and purposes, and the cliche.
I'm going to rename you Cindy Lou. Cindy Lou Who? From How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But it's just, and it's kind of disheartening because it's.
Well, and that brings up the point of this.
Just
what we're talking about is that if we didn't put such an emphasis on it for the end of the year, for the holiday season, we would be able to spread that out throughout the whole year, and maybe it would make the holiday season even more special, or at least made more authentic, like you mentioned.
Right.
Because you don't need, this is going to be the first year that I don't have an actual, or like basically a Christmas tree. Now that's because we're moving. We're literally between the 15th and the 30th, we're barely even going to be in one place. So, but it's not what's necessary. I had April order me a Christmas hat, so when we're doing our traveling and stuff,
you can wear
I'm going to wear my Santa hat. But
you need a Santa mask too with the beard on it.
That would be a good idea if I could find one. But I'm just kind of like, I've always, I love the holidays and the Christmas season and stuff, but I love it for the memories. I love it for the things that you go do, the time spent with family, things like that. It has nothing to do with the actual items, the actual presents, the actual any of that stuff. Where you're right, there's so many people are locked in on I mean, I think Taya was the one who mentioned it most recently, that with all you guys, you're all adults now and stuff, but yet in the back of our head, we're still kind of like trying to make sure that when we have presents, there's an equal number. Because when you were younger, it made a difference. We needed to make sure that, okay, no one felt better. But now, y'all are old enough that you realize, okay, it's not even a number. And we're still going to basically spend roughly the same amount.
Yeah.
So that it's still equal. But that's, again, where that sometimes that never happens. You still have families and things of that sort where it's locked in about, well, what am I getting for Christmas? What's my portion? What's my chunk? What's my whatever?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not the holidays. That's not the what you're supposed to be doing. The realization, the milestone in life. Really? Is that really your milestone in life? That's what it's about?
Right. And it shouldn't be. The end of the year to me, and probably for most people, is an incredibly hectic time, especially if you're a young adult. Because chances are you're dealing with school stuff. You're dealing with work stuff.
Which is more likely retail. Just because of the nature
Well, even food though, because the
same
food,
thing. Same thing. I just meant
the service
non-professional.
industry.
Yeah,
right. The service sector. Anything like that, you're gonna be swamped at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it's almost to me like a reset. You have to a part of, well, why should we be nicer at the end of the year around the holiday season, Christmas time, whatever.
There's no reason actually why you should be more nice, more kind.
Well, I'll challenge that because everybody's going through more at the end of the year.
Well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with. I guess there's.
So proportionately,
I meant just because it's the holiday season.
No, that's not why.
It's because of what happens
during the
holiday season.
The circumstances around it is everybody's going through more.
Yeah.
So proportionally, raise the level of kindness.
Right.
And,
yes, absolutely.
To me, because then you're just going right back. I know, I see it, thanks. But then you're going right back into the next year, and it's starting all over again. Yep. And it's hard. So as a community,
yep. No, I agree. And that's a great example of, to answer the question of whether or not how important they are. That is when it says it is important. It actually is increasingly important to be aware of it. And then we come back to those points of think more, care more, live more, with the awareness, kindness, and action. The awareness of understanding that it's not actually just because it's the holiday season. Because if it's the holiday season and, for example, we didn't have any retailer service or retailer service didn't surge. Like this year's kind of similar in that way.
This year it's down.
The opposite.
Where
we need to be kinder and more supportive for those who are out of work. Try to actually be more, maybe even be a little more a consumerism. Because I want to help those small businesses that count on these 3 months, October, November, December, and kind of go, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll spend a little bit more, even though I wouldn't have, because they need it. They need it more now than they ever had.
Well, it's sad. A lot of these businesses can't function, like the restaurant industries or whatever. These small and pop shops, they're not open right now. They're not doing takeout. You can't make enough money.
Well,
so
and that's been actually, now that we've seen this, especially down in the Los Angeles area, it's been almost a very heartwarming to see how many I've seen of the smaller ones. I've seen obviously some of them go out of business. I've seen one that was on the corner that actually rebranded. They sold it and it's now, well, actually I don't know if they sold it, but they rebranded and seem to be doing a little better. There's another one that completely adapted and got outdoor seating and stuff like that. So it's also really cool to see.
I know, but what happens when you take away the outdoor seating?
Well, see, that's where I totally disagree. But that's a political thing. I agree. I don't think that should have ever been taken away. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But meaning, though, how they were actually able to adapt. And it's even more important now. And see, we talk about milestones. Nobody could have saw. Well, I take that back. They did. But for just to make things simpler, nobody really could have saw the devastation that this COVID was going to bring as far as these businesses stuff. There's a milestone. There's something that you did. It was very well worth looking at and going, oh crap, what am I going to do to survive? I need to reevaluate my business plan. I need to reevaluate myself. Do I want to be in this industry? Like lots of server people, retail people going, oh God, I never thought that my job could be in danger being working at a mall. But hey, guess what? There you go. Because now there's only 20% are allowed into consumer, et cetera. And you go, well, something that I really thought would be a consistency, servers and hospitality and stuff, aren't.
Well,
there's a milestone that actually did cause you to go.
Yeah, well, very
I should probably
true.
think about it.
I'm wary to even get into discussing these COVID policies because I think there's so much wrong with them, like so much fundamentally wrong with them.
Well, at this
that I
point,
don't even necessarily like want to get into it because it would be a whole different topic.
Well, and at this point, I think you're right. I mean, I think they're sticking to, they haven't evolved the way they should.
Well, and not even that. It's the people that are instituting these are aware that they're wrong. That's what is so irritating to me is because, and I'll prove it, and this is why I know this, is because you have these people, Gavin Newsom going to, a dinner with a mixed household, which, again, I don't have any problem with. I think we should be allowed to do that. But when you're saying that others can't do it and you do it, you're setting yourself up for attacks.
Okay, but what you just proved does not prove that his rule is not good.
No, I didn't say his rule wasn't good. I said that the mandating of it was wrong.
The restriction itself?
Yeah, the restriction itself and telling people, because he knows it's wrong because he did it himself.
No, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's meaning he broke it.
Either way, then he's wrong.
There is
to
a big
institute
difference
it.
because he's a hypocrite and he broke his own rule, but that doesn't mean that the rule was bad.
So either
you're assuming that he made the rule.
Yeah, but either one is bad. So it's like pick your poison.
One is totally different.
Okay, but pick your poison. You're still making a mistake.
One is totally different because if the rule is still good, but he didn't follow it, we still need all the other people to follow it. Now, it's wrong that he did it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's right or anything, but we still need people to follow that rule.
Pick your poison. It's still bad. And then the people that are and then two of the people in Los Angeles County or Southern California that voted to close restaurants and dining and all that stuff went and did it right before their mandates even came into play the same night. One of them in two of them. One in Santa Monica. And then one here in El Segundo.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, like I said, I don't think they've evolved. They haven't evolved the way they should be because we now know that we could leave the restaurants open and with the outdoor dining and stuff.
Why are malls open?
Right, exactly. So, that's what I said.
Right.
I'm not, but
because there's no basis in any actual reality with these
point
things.
of what you said, though, is that there is certain things that just because the people putting them in effect didn't obey by them doesn't mean that those things are bad. The rules are bad.
Yeah. That's true. If you follow it logically, but
it's bad. It's its own set of bad with them not following it and being a role model.
Right, but they're technically supposed to be the examples.
Exactly.
Therefore,
I'm 100% with you. I just don't want to throw out quote unquote the baby with the bathwater, saying that just because someone breaks the rule means the rule's bad. It's
right, but in this case, it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater because only 3% of reported COVID cases have ever been traced back to dining.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that part. I'm not. So again, I'm not saying that the rule. I guess I'm talking about generality. I
know in general that would be a problematic statement, but isolated in this scenario, again, it's not.
Yeah,
because
but you just make sure that you delineate between saying like something like masks, for example, versus the restrictions.
That's not my responsibility. The people listening to they can.
No. What I meant was the rules, certain rules like the economic rules versus the health rules. I think there's a delineation between the two.
Right, and at this point, I mean, they're
actually that's the biggest point is that there is a difference between those two things because you can make the health rules, and then they need to be backed by good economic rules to help enforce that behavior. And what you're saying is absolutely true. They're not.
And they're not at all.
They don't. There's a disconnect between those things because.
And there are reasons that big, huge malls or whatever are open versus little restaurants that aren't making any profits.
Well, yes, it's because with little restaurants, you have bad circulation in a closed space, and malls are huge, big open areas.
No, not if you're eating outside.
What do you mean eating outside?
No,
I didn't say that. I said inside. Yeah, I have no problem whatsoever with outside seating.
Move away from indoor seating. Nobody's allowing indoor seating. No, I didn't. I said restaurants, small restaurants. Right. They have outdoor seating.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yes, I know.
I thought you meant inside.
No.
That's why they were allowed to have. No.
LA hasn't allowed indoor seating for I don't even know how long. Probably since August.
Yeah, but the counties around it have.
Maybe. Yeah, but moot point. That's my train of thought because you distracted me.
Well, anyway, it goes back to basically, again, we're talking about milestones. People are going to remember 2020 as a milestone. I mean,
yeah.
The whole 2020 is going to be a thought-provoking thing when 10 years down the road, you'll look back and go, 2020 was just an absolute mess as far as years go. And you look at it and go, it illuminates. So how important was that birthday in 2020? How important was that 4th of July? How important was that, Labor Day? How important was that Easter in 2020? Was it the same as it was last year?
I hope it makes us reflect on our elections of 2018.
Okay. Is it going to be the same as next year? You know what I mean? As far as all these things, elections are fine. They're already talking about how these elections, just because of the mail-in and all of this misinformation about the voter fraud and all of that, is going to affect laws, for the few going down. So just all of these points of reflection.
Some of that stuff's not necessarily a bad thing, though. Because it can strengthen.
Well, obviously, when you reevaluate something and determine what works and what doesn't,
right.
That's always a good thing.
If it inspires some form of uniformity, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah, and see, again, elections are one of those times that we can talk about points of inflection for life. Everything it stirs up. But do we need? I think we put so much emphasis for like what you just said about looking at something, reflecting on it, and we put so much emphasis on. Well, it should, it really, the only time most people want to do that or do that, or birthday, holiday, some sort of celebration, when that should be more of a constant. You should actually be, when anything's not going right, go ahead and stop right then and there to go, well, this isn't going the way I want it to. Maybe I should reflect on that. Maybe I need to actually be aware of it, do some self-awareness, some situational awareness. But so many people will be, they may not even recognize that they're doing it until they get to the next one. And then they go, oh my God, I need to change.
Right.
It's like, guess what? You just wasted 6 months. You could have done it way back then. There was no reason other than you just didn't either got programmed by society to think that we had to do it on New Year's or our birthday or the election or a holiday.
I think what it is for a lot of people is it provides a comfort. It provides a start date, and 2, it provides a certain amount of time to put off something.
But what you said earlier is a great point, that that's a false comfort, because most of these things, if you started on a specific day that everybody expects it to, it will not be as successful as
if you start when it's truly important to you and you're feeling passionate about it, you're more likely to actually carry it through. You might lose a part of your drive. And I think that there's nothing wrong with celebrating and being like really excited that something's coming up. But don't make that your like.
Well, celebration and reflection are two different things.
Yeah, but I don't think very many people reflect on their birthdays.
At least maybe. Actually, I think a lot of people, the older you get.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is maybe when you get older.
What the hell do you have to reflect on, youngin?
Well, that's kind of my point, though. Is so. It's kind of, I feel like birthdays is a tougher one. I think your New Year's one was a really good one, though, because I think that's something that everybody takes to consider roughly at the same time.
And even if you're young, you're supposed to kind of think about your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Your schoolwork.
No, you want to talk about a good reflection day?
What's that?
High school graduation.
Ah, that's a good one. Yes. Another one. And see, that one is like you can't really adjust it. I mean, that's one where it's kind of like, well, it's set. That really is, it's a set date. And yes, that one is valuable. We talk about how some of these are valuable as points of reflection and some of them aren't. That is one where you should probably, at least use it as a, not the day of course, but that timing in that around it. Yeah, actually, you should be thinking about what you've done, what you've accomplished, who do you want to be, how do you want to be it. If you don't know, then what's your best course of take your next step to help you get to that point,
Well, and then what's interesting too about the high school graduation is there was a time when that meant you became like an adult. You graduated high school.
Yeah.
You're an adult. Or you turned 18, you're an adult.
Right.
That I don't know, I don't feel like that's the case so much anymore. I don't think people look at it that way.
Well, you know why? And this is unfortunate.
Which is weird.
I think this is somewhat unfortunate is because to sound trite is kids are growing up so much sooner these days.
Yeah, but I agree with you, but it seems like a lot of the kids though, or people in my generation, they almost don't look at adulthood until 30.
Oh, another point, actually this goes to what you said about driving. This is an excellent one. More and more people, I don't know actually this year, in this last year, but I know that it was true about 2 or 3 years ago when you guys were all getting your license and stuff. It was kind of like I got mine the day of. Some of you wanted to get your license the day of. Some of you were like, I don't even care if I get it. And that was just shocking to me But that was actually a generational thing where people were talking about, I don't really care if I get my license. It was not a milestone anymore.
Right.
It was not important.
I wanted mine to me. I don't think I got mine the day of, but I did get mine as soon as I could.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of it where, okay, well, if these milestones, if you don't expect to become an adult because, at 18, a lot of it also it has to do with the fact that you could do a lot of the things illegally that you normally would do after 18.
Right.
There's not as much problem having access to it before that.
Right.
And vice versa. If you're not actually becoming, standing on your own, because so many parents, a whole generation of parents wanted their kids to stay home for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And that was, it was a reflection of the parents, not the kids.
Right.
So then all of a sudden you have this acceptance that, well, 18 is just a milestone, but you don't have to go out and go on your own. You don't have to, and you diminish it. You actually have diminished
right.
that.
And see, I don't know if this ties directly into the milestones. I feel like you don't necessarily have to kick your kids out, but I do think it's important to put a certain amount of emphasis on you are now legally an adult. Carry yourself this way.
Right.
This is important.
Yep. But see, parents don't want to because, there's a lot of parents that don't want to because they then, if the kid is still dependent on the parent feels they need that. Their identity is wrapped up in
get
being that. And that's detrimental to the children. It's detrimental to society. It's detrimental to the generations to come because that's how they get raised. So, that's the whole thing. People look at April and I when we tell them, like, tongue in cheek, but still somewhat true, that when you guys are out, we downsized. We didn't have a house big enough for you to come back. Mm-hmm. If we needed to help you guys, to help you, we would do it monetarily and help you if you needed a place to stay or something like that. We were never going to abandon you. But sure as a hell, we weren't going to be holding on to a house with an extra couple $1,000 mortgage just because, we might need a bedroom for so-and-so to come back. That's just ridiculous.
And then hopefully we would never have to.
Right. And if you did, we deal with it then. We'll deal with it with like, okay, well, you know what? We're in a financial situation that, sure, go get yourself a place. We're going to help you out here and there. That's so much better because at least you're still on your own, moving towards your goals and stuff like that. And there's strings attached,
right?
Which all of you now have pretty much said, okay, I don't want any strings attached. So you're all more or less self-sufficient, give or take. But you know what I mean? And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's how it should be.
Right. And I see a lot, like what you said, there's a lot of pushback against that. Like a lot.
Absolutely. They look at us, we have adults look at us like, what? You kicked them out? Like, yeah. At 18, every one of our kids was expected to be gone.
Well, I was gone at 17.
Right. Well, but graduation. Basically on graduation. Right. Either college or you could be a local college and stick around for a year. You had a year to figure something out. You could still live with us for basically a year. And that was actually because until Emily. Because we always had it until the youngest. We had to have it anyway. But once Emily, it was like, no, once you're done, out. Go to college, go, or if you're going to go to a local college and save some money, okay, go ahead. You can maybe then live with us, stick around. But you better have a plan. And not a plan for life. It was just a plan to be on your own.
Yeah, right. And I think that for some people, that's a weird concept because... for me, I never thought it was weird, mainly because I wanted to leave anyway.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And we wanted to.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that you guys had your own rooms and then your own freedoms. And so that by the time you were 18, it was kind of like a natural progression. Right. Graduation was a natural progression to be like, I'm tired of being here. I'm tired of you making me come eat family dinner every night. Can we switch to once a week finally?
Right. Well, and I can remember going as far back into at least the 6th grade, maybe 5th grade, but definitely the 6th grade I was going to move. I was going to be by myself. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that I always kind of thought it was going to be Southern California. I always kind of felt like it would be LA.
Yeah.
Knew that in the 6th grade. So it never was weird to me that there was some sort of push or whatever to get me out to do stuff because it was what I wanted.
Yeah,
it aligned with my goals,
and they went both ways. That was by design and also your own personality.
Right. So when the milestone of high school graduation kicked in, there was a moment of panic. Like, oh, okay, it's happening. Right. And it was like, well, I'm not ready. And then I wasn't in some cases, but then I was in others. And then actually doing it. Like, I remember breaking down with you and April in the living room once, like crying, like, not because I was scared, but I just didn't know.
Well, that's the reflection point. That's the point of this conversation.
Yeah,
you're right. It was the reflection of oh wow, it's here. And I
Right.
mean, and your sister, she had a more difficult time with the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then you had your other two brothers and sisters, you know, that are they had their own adjustment periods for one reason or another. You know what I mean? So it's you all had different reactions and different reflections on that moment.
Right.
And but yet you were supposed to.
I think also too, I had the luckiest break in the set when I went away. Like, I got to go to the dorms. Taya went to dorms too, but I had music, so I got to completely. I mean, I moved in to the dorms and immediately made an album, or like set out to do that.
Yeah.
From day one. I recorded the first day I moved in. Like, and that was basically what I did for the majority of the first semester of my freshman year. And then I met people who had interest with that. And then I met Donald too, and Donald's like still my best friend to this day. So, I mean, I had a really lucky break, and I had things that I wanted to do. And not everybody's that fortunate.
No, again, it comes back down to as you went through your teen years, and this is something adults have a hard time with. When you went through your teen years, and as parents, we were trying to make sure that you did not fall into the trap that just consider things on your birthday. You know, just consider your life when it's New Year's. It was a constant thing. It was a constant evaluation of how can I get better? Why am I happy? Am I not happy? Why am I not happy? You know, the reasons for that. And adults, it's the same thing I would tell the clients is that you need to be constantly reevaluating. And sometimes it's a very quick, hey, no, everything's cool right now. I'm good. Okay. And you move on. You know, but there needs to be that reflection, and it does not need to be any particular time. It does not necessarily be, it shouldn't actually be just. Now, if you have nothing else, then sure, use these as a possibility. But for the most part, we can't just use holidays, birthdays, and things like that to be the main points.
We're good. I'm just looking at it. Yeah.
So that's I mean, we can start, you know, wrap this up.
Oh, we don't have to. I was just making sure.
No, I know. But I mean, but it's just the fact that the message that needs to be pointed out is that the holidays are just a commercialization, commoditization, and a molestation of Jesus, according to Austin. Which the point, that obviously sounds harsh, tell me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. But the point is that if you're going to get caught up in the spirit of Christmas, make sure it's actually the spirit of Christmas or the holidays, not the supposed the what's put upon you about the commercialization and all the monetization and stuff like that, because
well, and then again, there are things that come with that are good. There are things that make you happy. I love the Christmas holiday season at the end of the year. People that know me and know me over the past year and a half, I am really wary about sugars. I don't ingest or consume a lot of sugars. I try to limit that very, very much. But I love peppermint frappuccino mochas. So
is that what I saw in your other hand?
Yeah. So like when the Christmas season rolls around, I'm gonna have a few of those just because I love them, and you can't get those unless it's the Christmas season.
And again, it's okay to make sure. Well, actually, the holiday season needs to be special. It does need to be set aside against the rest of the year.
Yeah,
but not for the same reason that you might think.
Right.
Not because this is a time to be more kind, more loving, and all of that. That's something that should be on your mind, top of mind, all year round. What this time of year does is to make sure for those who may not be able to do that, to set an example to them so that it might carry through for the rest of the year. And also, it's also meant to make the memories that will help you to be better, have a better life, be a better person for the rest of the year or the next year.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be just the holidays to do this, but in lieu of anything else, it's a good time to start. And so reflection points such as birthdays and holidays and things of that sort, celebration days, they're okay, but they are not the end all. They should not be the focus.
Right.
And that's how I look at it. They serve a purpose and they have a place, but if we cannot limit it down to just that, because otherwise we're all going to be doing the same thing at the same time, and it won't be special at all.
No, I want to. I know we're getting
no, that's fine. Go ahead. What?
In time, but what is so connected with Thanksgiving these days now? Black Friday. It's
a little bit up to this year.
Right.
See, again, this 2020 is going to make people reflect because...
and I have to admit, because so for the past 4 years, basically since I started, maybe before, but since I started doing retail and seeing how it works and all that stuff, more and more prominent businesses would close on Thanksgiving. Yeah. It didn't all just happen this year. No, it's been growing.
Correct. Well, and you're right. Just to give a quick history on that, you're right. Yeah. There was no such thing necessarily of being open on Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Black Friday has been around for a while, but it wasn't something that goes back multiple decades. I mean, it's something that's been around for the last couple decades, but it's not something that goes back, further than that.
No.
So it was almost inevitable that eventually there would be a backlash and people would start realizing, and the internet changed things, because now instead of having in the 80s and 90s and even partially of the 2000s, people being able to make so much money on that Friday, which of course then they got greedy and started to go into the Thursday. As soon as the internet came and you could start buying stuff, people realized, I don't need to go. So once it started to diminish the demand, we ended up in the last few years of where...
Right, and so people... And then there was a lot of backlash, too. And then...
sorry. This ties in with what you're saying. Is that spirit, the stories we started to look forward to as a society, because we're a voyeuristic society, was who got trampled on? What store?
Right.
And that's that's the opposite.
It became almost like gladiator matches.
Yeah, which is the opposite of the holiday spirit.
Right. And we got people who are basically like, well, more people are going to be with their family on Thanksgiving, so I can go shopping now. It won't be as busy the day after. It's the same deals. Here's the funny part, and it's been this way for probably decades. The Black Friday deals usually start at the beginning of that week. And if they don't start at the beginning of that week, they probably start on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you could have...
For a good chunk of the merchandise.
Yes.
Not the doorbusters. That was the only thing that it went in.
Right, yeah, maybe not. But doorbusters don't exist anymore.
No, because they can't. They
don't exist. Because the things, like, let's think of a doorbuster, a PS5. They're so limited in quantity that chances are, the GameStop here, right by most GameStops only got 2.
Yeah.
2 for Black Friday.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting in a line... and I see that there's 3 people in that line, I'm not getting in that line anymore, because you know that those first 3 people are buying a PlayStation 5.
Of course, but people don't think like that.
So I'm going to skip it. I'm not getting in that line. And so the concept of a doorbuster doesn't exist anymore. And so it's kind of, but the whole point is they're trying retail and not even maybe just retail, everybody wants to combine these two things, Thanksgiving and Black Friday, as some family thing. Go shopping on Black Friday because you get the best deal to buy gifts for your family.
Yeah.
Make your family happy.
Get a head start on Christmas shopping.
Right. What? That's ridiculous. That is...
It's stretching. Because
it is stretching.
If that is truly something that you could do as a family event and create family memories, great. That's great. That's because, but it's not because of the shopping or the stuff. It's just because that's something as a family, individually, you find great. It could be fishing. It could be going to your local farmer's market. It could be anything. Right. But I think again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that because of the commercialization of pushing that, you're trying to force people to believe that, hey, this is the only way, or at least the main way that you can, have family time is if you go shopping.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Or even not even necessarily family time, but getting stuff for your family. I guarantee you nobody's sitting there making these deals is thinking, oh, this is going to be great for the American family. There's not a single person sitting there thinking that.
Right.
They're all thinking, well, we spend this much to make this.
I think that's just advertising in general. And again, it's cyclical, because it's starting to remove it. Where now we had an impetus of 2020 and COVID, where they basically said, well, we can't even have people, coming in the store and stuff. So you know what? We might as well close on Thanksgiving and not even,
Yeah. And to be honest, I do think whether COVID was going to happen or not, we probably most stores wouldn't have been open on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree with you. I
think because last year it was just such a dip. Here's the thing. The concept of people shopping on Black Friday didn't change. People just did it online. But the concept behind the commodification or the commodification's not a real word. The commodifying of it.
Better.
I know it does sound better. But the commodifying of it stayed the same. The people were all like, "Oh, in-store shoppings went down. I don't know, 60%, maybe, whatever it was." Okay, well, the online went up 40. So
I get it. I agree with it.
It's the same concept. It just shifted the medium of where it happens.
Right.
And
and that happens. That happens not just on holidays. It's just more obvious on holidays.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. So a lot of Black Friday sales this year, 40% off. That was like what a lot of really prominent stores did. A 30% off is a pretty average sale on a normal day. Like a lot of
it wasn't nearly as much savings as normal.
No, well, yes and no. The Black Friday sale is not usually more than 40 because once you start saying 50%, people start getting like
closeout and stuff like that.
Right,
Yeah.
50.
No,
yeah.
I meant what I meant was that it wasn't the deals
that's
weren't
tax.
Yeah.
And that's tax in California. That's not even going to be. I mean, so I guess
California's
maybe in the
usually
middle,
higher,
right? So maybe in the middle America, that 10% might be more. But in California, that's just tax.
Yeah.
Yet everybody loses their mind when you could shop any other time during the year, most likely, if you're paying attention and get the same deal.
I do believe that people are starting to recognize that, i.e., another reflection point of this 2020 this season, holiday season, buying season, made people go, huh, well, what is important? And two, if I'm going to do the shopping route, how I can do it? What's the different ways? And I agree with you. I like with all the things usually with you and I is that I don't want people to get so pessimistic and so jaded by these things that do happen through mass media, through this stuff, to lose sight of the fact that it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? No, you don't have to buy into it. If you do, that's great. If in the sense, because the only reason I say that, if you do and you buy into it, because that actually then creates the memories that I'm talking about, that I feel like the holiday season is about. Okay.
Well, in that case, you're buying a memory, though, not a product. And it goes back to the Disneyland example.
Right, but that's okay, though, because, again, it's the memories.
That's different.
I mean, and it becomes more an event as opposed to not necessarily buying a memory. I mean, that's a good phrase for it, but it's a little misleading because you're not actually buying the memory. You're buying the event that creates the memory.
Well, it's like movies. It's movies in Disneyland.
Yeah, and you need to have a suspension of disbelief is what it comes down to.
Right, and the movie industry, you buy a ticket to watch a movie, but you don't get any ownership over anything except for how that movie makes you feel.
Yeah, that's a great example. It's interesting, and we'll probably have to bring this up for another conversation. But as we talk about suspension of disbelief, we're talking about these reflection points and stuff. How is virtual reality going to change all of this? Because
that'll be an interesting. Well, this is one of the more interesting examples, is because virtual reality's been a thing for a while now, and it's been bubbling. Now it's becoming consumer. It's almost. It's about to break. It's about to break through on the consumer level, like with Oculus and some of these ones. Right. Yeah.
And that's going to change as soon as we know it's true. As soon as the porn industry adopts it. The rest of the world.
It's so funny that you say it, because that was literally what I was thinking.
It's true. Once they adopt it, once it somehow breaks through and they figure out how they can make money off of it, it's going to break through.
It already has, like.
Well, I'm sure it's there. But what I mean I'm talking about the same levels that they talked about when you talk about the VHS and DVDs. Well, I mean, that is one of the main ones where they can start making money and monetize it in an efficient way. That's what breaks through to for everything else to follow.
I think also one of the more interesting reasons that it's more difficult for something like this to break through in the internet era is it's harder to really make sure people are paying money for things in the internet era, because you can steal everything. Yeah. you can almost steal everything.
Yep.
If it's a digital form of medium. So
it's going to be a very interesting to see how virtual reality is going to be that. Like how it's going to help with all this whole conversation about reflection points. Are you going to be able to anticipate what your life looks like in a year or two? Because it's basically formulated with AI and you actually are living it, like as if you age yourself 5 years. I mean, it's going to make it very interesting to start thinking about birthdays, New Year's, holidays and stuff. All of that's going to change. So that'll be another interesting conversation. But anything else?
The commodification.
No, we don't need to hear
kidding.
it again. So with that, now that this one, hopefully you use this episode to kind of look back and go, are you waiting for something? Are you waiting for a reflection point, a specific date, time, something? Or do you need to kind of take account right now and figure out what exactly is it you're thinking about for your life? Are you good? If you're good, great. Keep doing more of it. And if you're not, start now. Don't wait. Don't wait till your birthday. Don't wait till New Year's. Don't wait till Christmas. Don't wait till Easter. Don't wait. Just start now.
Right.
So think more, care more, live more, and remember, you can change your life. We can change the world one decision at a time. Good?
Good.
All right. Thank you, guys.